Let me tell you something real today, something a lot of people don't talk about honestly. Attraction is not always about big dramatic gestures, expensive gifts, or trying to impress somebody like you're performing on a stage. No, no, no. The truth is, some of the most powerful things that make a man feel drawn to a woman are the smallest, cutest, most natural things she does without even realizing it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that people overlook way too often, and then they wonder why relationships feel fake, why attraction fades, and why connections don't last. It all starts with something simple, something powerful, something that cannot be bought, copied, or faked for too long: natural authenticity. Now listen to me carefully, because this is where most people get it wrong from the beginning. A lot of women think they have to become a version of themselves that is more acceptable, more impressive, or more perfect just to get a man's attention. So they start adjusting their personality, adjusting their voice, adjusting their laughter, even adjusting the way they sit, the way they talk, the way they express themselves. And at first, yeah, it might work for a moment. It might catch attention. But attention is not the same as attraction, and attraction is not the same as connection. A man can be impressed by a performance, but he falls in love with reality. When a woman is naturally authentic, something shifts in the energy between her and a man. He feels it before he even understands it. She's not trying to impress him every second. She's not calculating every word like she's in an interview. She's not sitting there thinking, how do I act so he likes me? No, she is simply existing as herself. She laughs when something is funny, not when she thinks she should laugh. She speaks when she has something to say, not just to fill silence. She expresses herself without fear of being judged every second. And let me tell you something, men won't always admit out loud. We notice when you're real, because in a world full of filters, edited personalities, rehearsed conversations, and social media perfection, authenticity stands out like gold in dirt. It's rare, and anything rare automatically becomes valuable. A man might meet 10 women in a week, but the one who is real, the one who doesn't feel like she's performing, that's the one that stays in his mind when everything else fades away. Now here's where it gets deeper. When a woman is not authentic, she is constantly under pressure. She is trying to maintain an image. She is trying to remember what she said yesterday so she doesn't contradict herself today. She is trying to be the version of herself she thinks he wants instead of just being who she really is. And let me tell you something, that kind of energy is exhausting, not just for her, but eventually for him too. Because a man may enjoy the perfect version at first, but over time he starts to feel something is missing. It feels too polished, too controlled, too predictable. There is no depth, no realness, no emotional truth that he can connect to. When a man cannot connect deeply, he starts to detach emotionally. When a woman is authentic, she gives him something real to connect with. He sees her good days, her bad days, her funny moments, her serious moments, her awkward moments, her natural reactions. And guess what? That creates trust. And trust is the foundation of emotional attraction. Let me break it down even further. A man doesn't fall in love with perfection. He falls in love with familiarity, comfort, and emotional safety. And authenticity is what creates all three. When a woman is real, he doesn't feel like he has to decode her. He doesn't feel like he is guessing who she really is. He knows her energy. He understands her reactions. He feels like he can relax around her because she is not pretending to be something she is not. And that relaxation is powerful, because when a man feels relaxed around a woman, he opens up. He talks more. He shares more. He becomes more emotionally present. And that's when real bonding starts to happen. But let me also say this very clearly. Authenticity does not mean lack of growth. It does not mean being careless or unaware. It means being real while still evolving. It means not hiding your personality just to be accepted. It means not shrinking yourself just to be liked. It means standing in your natural energy without apology. And here's the truth that hits hard. If a man only likes you when you are pretending, then he doesn't like you. He likes the performance. But if a man stays when you are simply being yourself, that is real connection. Because authenticity filters people naturally. The wrong people will lose interest when you stop performing. But the right people, they get closer. They lean in. They start appreciating you more because they can finally see you clearly. So when I talk about natural authenticity, I'm not talking about a strategy. I'm talking about freedom. The freedom to be yourself without overthinking every move. The freedom to express yourself without fear of rejection. The freedom to exist without editing your personality for approval. And when a woman reaches that level of comfort in herself, something incredible happens. She doesn't chase attraction anymore. She becomes attraction. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that a lot of people underestimate. And because they underestimate it, they miss out on some of the strongest emotional connections they could ever have in a relationship. And that is this: playful innocence and light humor. Now, don't get this twisted. I am not talking about acting childish. I am not talking about being immature. And I am definitely not talking about being someone you're not. I'm talking about something deeper than that. I'm talking about that natural, effortless energy a woman carries when she knows how to bring lightness into a man's world without forcing it, without trying too hard, without turning it into a performance. Because let me explain something very clearly. Life is heavy. Life already comes with pressure. A man is dealing with responsibilities, expectations, bills, stress, goals, problems he doesn't always talk about, and battles he doesn't always show. So when he comes around a woman who brings nothing but pressure, seriousness, tension, and emotional weight every single time, he doesn't feel relief. He feels like he walked from one battlefield straight into another one. But when a woman knows how to smile, tease a little, joke a little, laugh naturally, and create a soft, light atmosphere around her presence, something changes in him. He starts to associate her with peace. He starts to associate her with comfort. He starts to associate her with a place where he can finally breathe. And let me tell you something men don't always say out loud. We remember how a woman makes us feel emotionally long after we forget what she said. Now, this playful innocence I'm talking about is not about being loud or trying to be funny on command. No, it's much more subtle than that. It's the small things, the little smiles she gives when she's teasing him about something harmless, the way she reacts to a joke with genuine laughter instead of forced politeness, the way she can turn a serious moment into something softer just by her tone, her expression, her presence. That energy is magnetic because it feels natural. It doesn't feel calculated. It doesn't feel rehearsed. It feels like sunshine in human form. And here is something powerful. You cannot fake this for long. A man can always tell when humor is forced. He can tell when someone is trying too hard to be funny, trying too hard to impress, trying too hard to create attraction. But playful innocence, that's different. That's not something you turn on and off. That's something that comes from comfort within yourself. And when a woman is comfortable in herself, she doesn't feel the need to be stiff all the time. She doesn't feel the need to be overly serious just to appear important. She allows herself to relax. She allows herself to enjoy the moment. She allows herself to be a little playful without worrying about being judged every second. And that right there is what makes her unforgettable. Because think about it like this. Any man can meet a woman who is beautiful, serious, composed, and distant. How many men meet a woman who can make them laugh in a way that feels natural, not forced? How many men meet a woman who can take a stressful moment and soften it just by her presence? How many men meet a woman who brings warmth into the room without even trying to dominate the space? Not many. That's why it stands out. Let me break it down even deeper for you. When a woman has playful innocence, she gives a man permission to relax. She gives him permission to let his guard down. Because men, we stay guarded most of the time. We are always calculating, always thinking ahead, always trying to stay in control of situations. But when a woman shows that she is safe, soft, light, and emotionally warm, that guard starts to drop. And when that guard drops, connection begins. Because now he is not just interacting with her on a surface level. Now he is emotionally present. He is laughing without thinking too hard. He is enjoying the moment without analyzing everything. He is feeling instead of filtering. And let me tell you something very important. Feelings are what create attachment, not logic. Now, I need to also make this very clear. Playful innocence does not mean you lose your self-respect. It does not mean you become a joke. It does not mean you allow anybody to treat you any kind of way just because you are lighthearted. That's not what this is. This is about balance. It is about knowing when to be serious and when to be soft. It is about knowing when to stand firm and when to let things flow. It is about understanding that attraction is not built only in deep conversations and serious moments. It is also built in laughter, in shared jokes, in small, playful exchanges that create emotional bonding over time. Because a man may forget a deep speech you gave him, but he will never forget the way you made him laugh when he was stressed. He will never forget the moment you turned his bad day into something lighter just by being yourself. He will never forget the comfort he felt when he didn't have to act strong around you every second. That is the power of playful innocence. And when you combine that with emotional intelligence, with self-respect, with authenticity, you don't just become a woman he likes, you become a woman he feels good around. And when a man feels good around a woman consistently, he starts to associate her with peace. And when peace meets attraction, he doesn't walk away from it easily. So understand this clearly. Sometimes it is not the serious energy that holds a man attention. Sometimes it is the lightness, the laughter, the softness, the innocent, playful moments that make everything feel easier, calmer, and more connected. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that sounds small on the surface, but in reality, it carries a lot of emotional weight in relationships. And that is this: small, thoughtful gestures. Now, I want you to understand something right from the beginning. Most people think attraction is built on big things, big gifts, big statements, big moments, big promises. But in reality, real emotional attachment is built in the small things people do consistently, when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, and when nobody is keeping score. A man may forget what you wore on a special day. He may forget what you said in a deep conversation months ago, but he will never forget how you made him feel in the small moments. That's where emotional memory is created, not in the loud moments, but in the quiet details. When a woman pays attention to small, thoughtful gestures, she is doing something powerful without even realizing it. She is telling a man, I see you. I notice you. I pay attention to you even when you are not trying to be noticed. Let me tell you something. Being seen is one of the deepest emotional needs a human being has. Now let's break this down properly. Small, thoughtful gesture can be something as simple as remembering something he casually mentioned in passing. Maybe he said he likes a certain type of food. Maybe he mentioned a stressful day at work. Maybe he talked about something he wants to do but hasn't done yet. And then later, without making a big announcement, she remembers it and responds to it naturally. That moment hits differently for a man because in his mind, he starts to realize she actually listens to me. She actually pays attention to me. I am not just talking into the air. And when a man feels like his words matter, he starts to emotionally invest more deeply. Let me tell you something men don't always express. We notice effort more than perfection. It is not about doing everything right. It is not about being perfect. It is about showing care in simple, consistent ways. A small message checking in on him when he is busy. A simple reminder about something important he mentioned. A little gesture that shows she was thinking about him without needing a reason or occasion. These things may look small on the outside, but inside a man's mind, they build something powerful, emotional value. And once emotional value is created, attraction deepens. Now here is where it gets even more important. Small, thoughtful gestures are not about trying to impress a man or win him over. If they come from a place of strategy or manipulation, he will eventually feel it. Because men are not as complicated as people think. We can sense when something is genuine and when something is performed. Real small gestures come naturally. They are not forced. They are not calculated. They are simply expressions of care. And that is why they work so well. Because in today's world, people are distracted. Everyone is busy. Everyone is scrolling. Everyone is talking, but very few are truly listening. So when a woman slows down enough to notice details, to remember things, to respond in a thoughtful way, she automatically stands out. Not because she is trying to stand out, but because she is paying attention in a world that doesn't. And let me tell you something deeper. A man doesn't just fall in love with how a woman looks. He falls in love with how she makes him feel emotionally safe and emotionally valued. And small, thoughtful gestures create that feeling of value. Because when a man sees that a woman remembers him in small ways, he starts to feel important in her life. Not because she said it, but because she showed it. And here is something very real. Men are not always openly emotional, but we feel deeply when someone cares about the little things. A simple act of kindness can stay in a man's memory longer than a big dramatic moment. Because big moments come and go, but small, consistent care builds emotional attachment over time. Now let's go deeper. When a woman consistently shows small, thoughtful gestures, she is also building trust without even speaking about trust. Because trust is not built by words alone. It is built by actions that prove reliability, attention, and emotional consistency. A man starts to think, if she notices me in small things, she probably understands me in bigger things too. And that belief slowly builds emotional dependence, not in a negative way, but in a natural human way, where he starts to feel more connected, more open, more comfortable. And comfort is dangerous in attraction, in a good way, because once a man feels emotionally comfortable with a woman, he starts to lower his guard. He starts to talk more openly. He starts to share more freely. He starts to include her in his inner world instead of keeping her at a distance. And that shift doesn't happen because of one big action. It happens because of many small, thoughtful gestures repeated over time. Now, I also need to make something very clear. Small gestures are not about overgiving or losing yourself. They are not about trying to earn love. They are simply about expressing natural care in balanced ways. Because the goal is not to chase a man, attention, the goal is to create emotional connection through authenticity. And when it is real, it never feels heavy. It feels natural. It feels easy. It feels like part of who she is, not something she is forcing. So when people ask what builds strong emotional attraction, they often expect a complicated answer. But sometimes the truth is simple. Pay attention, remember the small things, respond with care, and show presence in ways that feel natural. Because in the end, it is not the loud moments that make a man stay emotionally connected. It is the quiet moments where he feels noticed, valued, and remembered without having to ask for it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that looks simple on the surface, but in reality, it is one of the strongest forces behind real attraction, real respect, and real emotional attachment between a man and a woman. And that is this: soft confidence combined with emotional warmth. Now, I need you to understand something very clearly from the beginning. A lot of people misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means being loud. They think confidence means dominating every conversation. They think confidence means proving a point all the time, arguing to be right, or always trying to show strength. But real confidence is not loud. Real confidence is calm. Real confidence is steady. Real confidence doesn't need attention. It naturally commands respect. And when you mix that kind of confidence with emotional warmth, something very powerful happens in a relationship dynamic. Because now you are not just strong and you are not just soft, you are both in balance. And that balance is rare. Let's break this down. Soft confidence means a woman knows who she is. She knows her value. She knows her boundaries. She knows what she will accept and what she will not accept. But here is the difference. She does not feel the need to prove it every second. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't lower herself just to be chosen. She stands in her own energy quietly, without arrogance, without desperation, without insecurity driving her actions. And let me tell you something. Men feel that energy immediately. A man can tell when a woman is unsure of herself, even if she says all the right words. And he can also tell when a woman is grounded in herself, even if she doesn't say much at all. Because confidence is not always spoken, it is felt. Now, emotional warmth is the other side of this balance. Emotional warmth is softness. It is kindness. It is approachability. It is the ability to make a man feel safe emotionally, not judged, not attacked, not constantly under pressure. It is the energy that says, you can be yourself around me. And when a woman has emotional warmth, she becomes a place of comfort instead of stress. Now imagine what happens when these two qualities come together in one woman. She is confident, so she is not needy. She is not chasing. She is not desperate for validation. But at the same time, she is warm, so she is not cold. She is not distant. She is not emotionally unavailable. She is open. She is kind. She is present. That combination creates something very rare, a safe, yet strong emotional space. And let me tell you something very important. Men are naturally drawn to women who feel safe and stable emotionally. Not chaotic, not confusing, not overly reactive, not constantly in drama, but stable, grounded, and warm. Because when a man feels emotionally safe around a woman, he starts to open up. He starts to relax. He starts to share parts of himself that he doesn't show to the outside world. And that is where emotional bonding begins. Now here is where many women go wrong. They think they have to choose between being strong or being soft. So they either become too hard, emotionally closed off, guarded, distant, or they become too soft, overgiving, over-explaining, over-attaching, losing their boundaries. But real attraction exists in the balance. Soft confidence says, I know my worth, but I don't need to prove it to you. Emotional warmth says, I am safe for you to talk to, safe for you to be yourself around, safe for you to relax with. Together, it creates an environment where a man does not feel controlled, but also does not feel emotionally lost. And let me explain something deeper. When a woman is only confident without warmth, she can appear intimidating or emotionally distant. A man may respect her, but he may not feel emotionally connected to her. And respect alone is not enough to build emotional intimacy. On the other hand, when a woman is only warm without confidence, she may be kind, she may be caring, but she may also appear too available, too flexible, too easy to take for granted. And without confidence, warmth can sometimes lose its power. But when both are present, something changes completely. The man respects her because she has standards, and he feels connected to her because she has warmth. Respect plus emotional comfort, that is what creates long-term attraction. And here is something very real that men experience but don't always say out loud. We stay where? We feel both challenged and emotionally safe at the same time. If it's only challenge, we feel pressure. If it's only comfort, we lose interest. But when there is both, we stay engaged. Soft confidence creates the challenge. Emotional warmth creates the comfort. Now let me take this even deeper. A woman with soft confidence does not overreact when things don't go her way. She does not panic. She does not lose her center. She does not start chasing answers immediately. She remains calm, composed, and steady. That calmness itself is attractive because it shows emotional maturity. And emotional warmth ensures that even in that calmness, she is still open, still kind, still approachable, not cold, not detached, not emotionally unreachable. That balance is what makes a man feel like, I can grow with her, not run from her. Because growth requires both strength and softness. Strength to handle life, softness to connect emotionally. And when a woman carries both, she doesn't need to force attraction. She becomes the kind of presence that naturally draws it in. So understand this clearly. Soft confidence, combined with emotional warmth, is not about playing a role. It is about becoming emotionally balanced, strong enough to respect yourself, soft enough to connect with others, grounded enough not to be shaken easily, warm enough to make someone feel at home in your presence. And when a woman reaches that balance, she doesn't have to chase love. Love responds to her.